story branding and my personal brand. This was really cool to think about. For this whole semester, we've been thinking about these principles through a company's perspective, but these principles are very applicable to my own story and how it plays out. So to start, what is my personal brand? Signorelli says that you need to consider the backstory of something before you can really determine what the brand is. So a little bit of background on me and what I have been through in recent years and where I'm at. So the last few years have been a roller coaster of a ride, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. A few months before the pandemic started, I discovered that I had depression. And that kind of came out because I got a concussion, and those can actually worsen your symptoms, which I didn't know I had before then. And then when my head just started going awry and I started feeling these things that I normally felt, but on a much greater scale, it just kind of brought to light that, oh, you are struggling mentally. And then the pandemic happens and everything gets shut down. A lot of other tough stuff happened. I had people leave me, lost a lot of good friends through that time, and it was really tough. It was the lowest point I had ever been in, but God brought me through that. Coming back to the next school year, there are 1,000 small God moments I had where He just showed me that His love is really the only thing that we need. Not that we're supposed to ignore man and not love on man, but if we're dependent on the love of man, we're ignoring the best possible love we could get. And that's kind of where a lot of my brand comes from, because I want to love other people and I want to encourage other people. Understanding that there are people who felt what I felt, but on an exponentially greater scale. Like, there are people struggling with what I had, but even more, and they're still struggling with it. Praise God, I'm at a point where it's been months since I've had a day marked by depression. So considering all that, what does your sense of your personal brand shape your story and your perception of calling and vocation? Essentially, what is unique value proposition? Signorelli said that this is essentially your inner layer, or the why behind your existence. And that's a tough question. Why do I exist? The short answer, although it's not unique, is to glorify God. That should be the goal of all Christians, and that is my goal. I want to glorify God. But greater than that, I want to show the same love that He's shown to me to others, so that they can experience it, and that they, if they're struggling, that they can come to the light like I have, because I have just felt so much lighter since then, and so much better. What are the gifts that God has given me to fulfill this calling? I have a great sense of empathy. I'm very grateful that He has given that to me. I feel my friends' pain. I can feel what they're going through. And now that I have actually gone through that moment where I had really tough depression, understanding how those people felt, that wasn't something I could necessarily empathize with. But now I'm able to realize that some people don't need someone to tell them, just keep smiling, everything's gonna be okay, it's all fine. Understanding that sometimes in life, everything isn't fine, but that is all right. And that sometimes you just need people to live with your life with, not necessarily to tell you something, not necessarily to try to preach something to you, but to just be with you, knowing that alone, God can use that. Gifted me with a great sense of exhortation and also words. My brain has just always been wired where I've been able to, because I can empathize with people, I can kind of know what words they would want to hear and what words would be good for them to hear. So I'm very grateful for that. So my personal brand statement, considering my backstory and where I came from, my inner layer and the why of why I exist, my outer layer, how I'm getting it done through words, through speaking, through communications, and obstacles. Some of my obstacles being that I'm not necessarily going to feel this happy for the rest of my life, and that there may be a day where I struggle with it. Taking all that into consideration, all of Signorelli's principles, this is the statement that I've come to, that my personal brand statement for myself is to be beneficial to man and the kingdom of heaven by encouraging others in and to faith, by sharing my own story, successes and failures, and living out stories with others. I think this kind of encapsulates it all as best I could. So that's story branding and my personal brand.